am Beto and you're watching Modern Immigrant. Welcome everybody to a new episode of Modern Immigrant, like every Monday, well, almost every Monday, because last week we took a little break, but we're back this Monday. We have episodes of immigration stories, immigration specialists, and people that are gonna help you and support you during your journey with their amazing stories. And today we have Edgar here sharing his immigration story with us, and I cannot wait for you to listen. So I just want to let you know that we have an Instagram account at Modern Immigrant, so you can check out all the updates about the episodes, about the guests, what we're doing in Modern Immigrant, and you'll also get to learn all the other stuff that we are creating, like book clubs and also projects to support immigration. So check out our Instagram and check out our website where you can get all the info. Edgar moved to the US when he was only 3 years old, and we're gonna touch on different topics about identity. We talk about having DACA, what that meant to him, how he felt when he was able to receive it, and his whole experience of going to college, who helped him to go to college, who was his support system. And something really interesting about this story is his experience as a farm worker. So we're gonna talk about the farm worker experience, some of the things that he sees as unfair treatment that farm workers are receiving, and how can we all help not only farm workers, but also immigrants. We talk about his dream to become a film director, and he's gonna share with us where we can check out his videos, his documentaries, and all the amazing work that he's currently doing. Just a beautiful takeaway from this interview is that really one story can touch you and touch all of us to start changing your life and feel inspired. So I hope you really enjoy this episode and enjoy getting to know Edgar. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe. That really helps us, and you really appreciate every time I see you subscribing or following us in all platforms where we're at. So thank you so much for being here. Enjoy. Edgar, welcome to Modern Immigrant. I am so honored to have you here with us today, and I can't wait to start asking you questions about your immigration story. But for now, I just want to say welcome, and I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah, Edgar, and I started each interview by asking my guests, when did the immigration journey start? Just so we can start to learn a little bit more from your journey. So when did that kind of start?
Um, it started right when I came here. Well, when I was brought here, like 1998.
1998. Okay, how old were you?
So I was 2 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't remember anything. I have flashbacks, but it's like son como pedacitos. Like I don't know.
See.
I've always had these flashbacks, and whenever I tell them to my mom, they're accurate. They're stuff that happened. So yeah.
I think, yeah, I feel like kids can really, remember things, right? Especially when things are pretty drastic and big, right? Like moving to another country, that's so huge that I'm sure you were able to kind of remember. But can you tell us a little bit about the things that you do remember? Like, is there anything that you can recall or that your mom told you about that journey of coming here to the US? From where did you kind of immigrate in?
So I was born in Mexico. Soy de Puebla.
Okay.
And, um, but I remember, siempre me acuerdo it's like un pozo, no un pozo.
Okay.
It's like a little, es como un pedacito que tenía agua.
Yeah.
But,
Wow.
so, but I don't know what it was, but I always remember that I used to put my feet in there, like, como si fuera un río. And this whole time yo pensé que era un río que tenemos atrás de nuestra casa. But my mom said, no, it's just, nada más era un pedacito que tenía que siempre se llenaba de agua. Y que siempre poníamos nuestros pies ahí. And I'm like, for some reason, I remember that. But I just never knew, like, what it was. Like, it was always in my memory.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. It's almost like it was that little thing that as a kid it can be fun, right? To be with the
Yeah.
water or near the water. So that's very interesting. So what do you think has been like, was there like a moment when you realized that you were an immigrant, that you were like, oh, wait a second, I wasn't born here. I'm different from others? Because I think this is something that a lot of us immigrants realize at some point. But it's interesting hearing a story like yours because you were brought to the US when you were such a little kid that, you know, it's hard to kind of set that boundary and say, oh yeah, when I moved to the US I realized I was an immigrant. Like, how was that for you, that moment that kind of hit you like, oh, okay.
As long as I can remember. So I remember, for as long as I can remember, I always knew I was
Hmm.
sin papeles because I have an older brother that was born here and a younger sister that was born here. I know it sounds kind of crazy how I was born over there, but I was supposed to be born here because my mom was 6 months pregnant. But her and my dad, they got into some fight, and so they both left to Mexico together. Or I think my mom left to Mexico. So I was born over there, and then we came here. But I always know that I was an immigrant because, or I always know that I was different
Mm-hmm.
because I always noticed that my brother and my sister had different opportunities, and I would see that all of my cousins would go to Mexico every summer, and cuando mi mamá me llevaba a la clínica, she would take me to a clinic that was like a local clinic where everybody went. But she would take my brother and my sister to a private doctor. So I would always be like, pero yo por qué yo no tengo un doctor privado? Or why do you have to take me like to another state for me to get a passport? Why can't I get one downtown like my brother and my sister? So my mom always told me it's porque nosotros no tenemos papeles. But
So she was
I
always
was,
kind of like open to you about it. You
yeah,
heard this term. Okay.
yeah, and I was very vocal about it. Like I don't
Mm.
know, like no me daba pena. At school, I was like 8, 9 years old, and I would always tell my friends because they would always go to Mexico, and they'll be like, "Why don't you go?" And I'm like, "Because no tengo papeles." And so,
Right,
like,
because you didn't know if that was a, I mean, it's not a bad thing, right? But a lot of
yeah,
people don't feel open to say it
yeah,
because you were a kid and you were like, yeah, this is totally normal, right?
yeah. And then my mom, she would get mad because she'd be like, like you shouldn't be saying these things. And I'm like, but everybody in my school is Mexican, so it's not like, you know, like, well, we were very open with each other. But the ones that were immigrants as well, they never said it. Like, ellos como que siempre tenían ese miedo.
Hmm.
But me, I was very vocal at a young age. I just never knew like that other people thought differently. And even to my teachers, I would always tell them that I'm an immigrant. I see
Right.
like, and they just never really like understood
Mm-hmm.
like what an immigrant was or like how was this little kid here like como que ellos they didn't really know about this
Mm-hmm.
topic that much. And they would always ask me, so how are you in school if you're an immigrant? And I'm like, I don't know. Like,
Almost like saying, well, if you're an immigrant, then you don't get to live like everyone else, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean, we go to school, we have jobs, but for a lot of people, those are concepts that are still very new, or they don't, I don't know, they're not as used to it, right?
yeah, and then so when I was little,
Mm-hmm.
I always knew I was an immigrant, but it didn't hit me until I was like in high school because that's when a lot of my friends started applying for jobs. They started applying for the driver's license, and I couldn't do any of that.
Mm, right. What
Yeah.
was the impact that you would say that that had in your life or in your mental health? Because I'm sure it was really difficult. First, you were noticing that you were different within your own family, right? Because they were able to
Yeah.
access things that you didn't. But then you were also realizing that you were different from like a larger group of people because of those things that other people were doing. And when you're a teenager, like that can be pretty hard. Like, I wonder how did that impact you?
It was well, it started more when my mom left because she left uh maybe 2 months before um I entered high school. No, 2 months before I graduated 8th grade.
Okay.
So when she left back to Mexico, that's when I started like working in the fields in El Campo.
Mm-hmm.
Because my dad, he didn't really give me the option. He just told me that I need to go because my mom needs money because she's sick. So I went, and that's when like I saw the completely different world, and that's when my mentality kind of changed. But
Okay. Like
yeah, and
what?
then
Can you tell us how? How did your mentality change after working in the farms?
so this is something that people don't really talk about, but a lot of people in my family they have this different mentality where they feel superior towards darker skinned Mexicans. And so I had that mentality as a kid, like, yeah, but you're darker than, you're, they will call them Indians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as a kid, I always knew that that was like kind of like mean, but they would joke around about it. So I would always talk like that también. But
Mm-hmm.
then once I started working in El Campo, I started hearing that the same line leaders who were also Mexican, they would call them those things to the workers. But I'm like, damn, this really sounds like it doesn't sound right. Like,
Mm.
come over, and I'm over here doing the same, and when I shouldn't be doing the same because in El Campo, it doesn't matter whether you're light or dark. They treat us all the same. They humiliate us. Me, I was a little kid, so you know, back when I was a little kid, so I didn't really know how to defend myself. Like I knew it was wrong,
Yeah.
but I'm just like them. I don't have nothing of a papeles, so I can't
Exactly.
really
Like it
say
doesn't
anything.
matter if you look differently, right? Or if the skin color is different. Like we're all doing the same. We're all in this together. So
Yeah,
that's very. Oh my goodness! Thank you for sharing that. That has to be pretty like shocking, right? At that age, noticing that there's
yeah.
something that's off. Mm-hmm.
And then like I just started telling my family like stop talking like that because it's not.
Hmm.
It just doesn't sound good. And I'm like, and we're not even the tallest or the most lightest Mexicans to be thinking that we're better, like, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But then when I got to high school, that's when I started noticing that a lot of I had a good amount of friends that were also undocumented. They just weren't open about it. So getting back to your question about how that affected me,
Affected. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, I was always very I would participate in like the workshops or like how to build my resume, even though I knew that I couldn't apply for these jobs. I still wanted to learn and I still wanted to be active. So I just wanted to feel what it felt like to like
Mm-hmm.
be part of something. Because after school I would go work in the packing houses in las empacadoras.
Okay.
And I was a little kid. I was still young. I was like 14, 15. And then yeah, and then the good thing of the beautiful thing about that is that those friends who were undocumented as well would also go to the factory. So now that we're older, we have different conversations than with our friends that were born here because it's like we had a whole different childhood. Like our summers were just spent, not doing sports, not joining like cross country or track or soccer. We would see our other friends playing soccer and doing track from a window of a van coming back from work. And it was kind of sad, but it's like now that we're older, we're like, it's nice that we can share that because only we know what that feels like, and it's beautiful because especially me, it made me appreciate a lot of the undocumented workers.
Amazing. Like you, it sounds like you have been gaining so much empathy too, right? Like empathy that we assume that people that are in our family or close to us are going to have, but not necessarily, right? Like everyone goes through different experiences, and it's really beautiful to hear that that's how you have been seeing it, right? Like an opportunity to connect with others, to realize that at the end of the day, we're all the same, like, right? Like we're all people, and everyone can be struggling in a situation like yours. Like it doesn't matter exactly how you look like. I think kind of going back to the point of like seeing those things within your family as well. um how was that experience of working in the farms? Like for how long have you been doing it? And yeah, like have been some of the amazing things that you have learned from that work and that you appreciate?
So I started working in the fields right after my mom left, but it
Mm-hmm.
was more. So there's two different types of farms.
Okay.
There's a consumable farm, which is like vegetables and fruits, and then there's the ornamental farm,
Okay.
which is like flowers, plants, trees. So I started working first in the consumable, which is yeah vegetables and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Um, it was like piscando, picking tomatoes, picking one summer I worked in the blueberries.
Nice.
It's just like I learned a lot. I learned how to work under pressure because when it comes to blueberries, you kind of have to work at your own pace. So depending on how many crates you fill, that's how much you're getting paid.
Oh
Now,
wow.
when it came to the tomatoes, it's by the hour. So it's like, but again, they have you like like this, and it's heavier because the crates are like this big, and Mexicans are bullies. Like if they see you working slow, they're gonna make fun of you. So you have to like adapt to that world.
Mm,
And but over the years, I was only working in the fields. Maybe it was always in the summers of when I was in high school, but it was only 1 month because after like the first month, the season was kind of over. So then I worked in like the packing houses.
mm,
I used to work even at a fish factory. It was like different things.
yeah.
And when I had DACA, I promised myself that with DACA, there's pretty much like an exit to leave this world behind because I saw it as like a new door where I don't have to work there if I don't want to. But I did anyway because that's where the money was at.
Right. That's what that's really interesting that you bring up DACA because I want to ask you how you feel like having that access to have that and I don't know even know how to call it to have that paper, right? Um how did you feel your life change? Like the before and after DACA kind of thing. Like what were some of the things that you were able to now access to or that you were able to do after having it? And how old were you when you get it?
So DACA it came out when I was during the end of my sophomore year. So my sophomore year, that's when like this whole undocumented status was really affecting me because that's the year when you're like 16 and you can apply for jobs, driver's license. So DACA came at a perfect opportunity
Right.
because I'm already 16, um, and back then DACA was I don't think it was DACA. I think it was mostly known as the Dream Act
Yeah.
because it was different. Like they offered a path I think to citizenship, or that's what they were trying to do at first, but they ended up taking that off.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when that came out, it was like around the end of June, so I applied maybe in August,
Okay.
and I was happy because I'm like, yeah, like now I can apply for another job, I can apply for my driver's license, I can do so many things. And as soon as I got that, I got it maybe in November of that same year.
Wow.
And the first thing I did was learn my social security. That was the first thing I did because I was applying at so many jobs. I was going from different stores, but I just still wanted to work in these packing houses because when the moment I heard about DACA that it was approved, during that same month I was working already in El Campo, and the people that were working with me they were like excited, but it just didn't feel the same because I'm like because they don't like they're not feeling what I'm feeling, so it was kind of sad
Hmm.
because
Wow.
that kind of meant that I wasn't gonna see them anymore, that I was gonna move on and forget about them. And but I stayed, so I would see the same. I would always see the same people almost every summer.
So you did stay, like, even after getting DACA, you continue to work there, right? Okay.
Yeah, well, only throughout my high school years,
Right.
because after high school, that's when I was like, yeah, I need to,
Mm.
do something else. But after
Wow.
high school, after high school, I started. I didn't start college right away because I couldn't afford it, and we didn't qualify for any aid here in New Jersey.
Wow. Okay.
And also, I didn't have the support of my dad. My dad, he was very against me going to school. He
Hmm.
just wanted me to work and help him with the bills. So he was like kind of the antagonist of this whole story. He made it so hard for me to do anything that I wanted, but I didn't let that stop me because I'm like, you know what? I have a work permit. I have a social security. I shouldn't be putting excuses to do what I want.
That takes so much
So
courage and strength. Congratulations on that. Because when you have that, like, seriously, that takes a lot of work to go kind of like against what everyone else is doing. And it sounds like you had way bigger dreams, right? That you wanted to accomplish.
yeah, and also none of my family members, like none of my older cousins went to college. Or I think they went, but they just didn't probably went for a semester or so.
Hmm.
And I think it was just me and one of my cousins from my age who went. But I didn't have the support from anybody. So I didn't have anybody asking me, "Hey, do you need help with the support?" Or like, and I didn't have a car back then, so I would take the transit bus to the college, and it was kind of embarrassing because a lot of my friends had their own cars by that time, and I would just wait in the bus stop, and there was like on one of the main roads, so people would see me, and I'll pose for my hoodie on, like I'll be embarrassed,
Yeah. Yeah.
and but then I started feeling happy for myself because on my way home one of those days from college, a year after when I went to college. One of my friend's moms, I guess she was taking the bus back home from work, and she saw me, and she told her son that evening, like, guess who I saw in the bus today, coming back from school. And my friend was like, who? And he was like, um, Edgar. And then she was like, if Edgar can go to college in the bus, then you should be putting in, the work as well, and you have a
Mhm.
car. And yeah, and then when they told me that, I was like, wow, I didn't even know that people
Amazing.
noticed that or that they saw it a different way than I did. So
How amazing that perspective, right?
yeah,
Seeing how people see you from the outside, like sometimes we're so embarrassed, right, about our
yeah,
status or what we do, and people are looking at us, or at least in that example, right? We're like, that's amazing. Other people
yeah,
should do it too. Like,
yeah,
what a cool story, really. Yeah,
yeah. And
amazing.
then the year when I started college, my mom actually she helped me go to college my first semester because she sold a piece of her land in Mexico, and one of her tias from here bought it.
Mm.
And but I didn't know that she did it behind my back. So that
Wow.
tia, the tia lives in New York, so she told me to go to New York because she was gonna give me something, and she gave me maybe like $1,200 for
Mm-hmm.
me to go to school for my first semester. And I was like, wow, like my mom is in Mexico doing stuff that my dad can't even do,
Hmm.
or that my dad doesn't want to do. And yeah, that's how I started my first semester, and that's when I started working at the job that I have now, which is a greenhouse, a
Oh,
really,
cool.
really huge greenhouse. And the only reason why I went to college is because of my boss. Because I was gonna go to college, but like take one class at a time or
Okay.
like two classes at a time, because I'm like I can't afford it.
Right.
And my boss was like wanting to go to school full time, and I was like, because I can't. Like, it's expensive. It's expensive, and the way college is, they don't care if you're working. They don't care
Mm-mm.
if you. They're gonna give you like you're only gonna find a schedule that they have. So I'm gonna have a class in the morning, one in the afternoon, one at night.
It's almost like you have
And
to have your schedule completely open to go to
yeah,
school.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then my boss was like, "Well, why don't you do that?" And I was like, "Because I'm working here. Like, you
Yeah.
guys, like you guys are not gonna let me." And he was like, "Who's telling you that I'm not gonna let you?" And I was like, I was like, "Wait, what are you trying to say?" And he was like, "I'm giving you the opportunity to go to college, but." And then he was like, "So we're gonna make like a deal. I'm gonna give you as much hours as you need. Like I'm gonna give you 7 days a week,
Wow.
whatever hours you want to put in, but you need to go to school full time." So he convinced me to go to school full time,
Amazing.
and he was very supportive as well as my coworkers because
Mm.
I would work in the morning. I would try to finish my job as fast as I could, sometimes I wouldn't finish it, so my coworker could be like, "Don't worry, we got it. Like just go to class." And
Wow, amazing.
sometimes they would give me for my gas money. Sometimes they'll bring me a sandwich, and it was like I
Hmm.
had a really big support team at my job.
Yeah. How beautiful is to know that we can find that support outside of our family, right? Knowing that
Oh,
it's really because, and I think this is something that a lot of immigrants we struggle with because we leave our homes, we leave our family in many cases, right? And
yeah,
even though you might have their support, you don't see them, you don't live with them. So you really start to build like your own family or your own support system that sometimes show more support, right? As you're saying, and care than people closer to you, to your blood, at least.
yeah. These people they see me grow up ever since I was 19. So that's when I
Wow.
started working at that job. But they've known me for my whole life because my whole family works there,
Okay.
and it's sad. And it's sad because my family that works there, they don't see what these other people see.
Mm.
Like these other people, they cheer for me. They're literally participate in every single project that I have because since
Amazing.
I'm always there, and I can't afford to miss a day, so I always film my projects there, and they're always my characters, they're always my actors, they're always my models,
That's
and
amazing.
for the past 5 years, um, sometimes I'm like they're probably fed up because every time I have a project, I'm like, hey, so what time are we leaving today? They're like, oh, maybe like at 6 because we're trying to leave early. And I'm like, well, we might leave late because I have this project and I really need your help. And then
Oh,
they're like another one. And I'm like, yeah, just one more. And I always say that, and I keep doing another one and another one.
you're
So
right.
they're
There's always another one.
so they're used to it. They're used to it already.
And Edgar, now that you're talking about your projects and about the film director dream and you're purchasing that dream already, pursuing, can you tell us a little bit more about that? How did that kind of idea came up? What was your first project? And yeah, tell us more about that. That's really cool.
So I've always wanted to be a filmmaker ever since I was very little because
Wow.
my mom and me we would always watch novelas, and I really loved watching that.
Hmm.
And my mom she bought me my first ever movie, which was Scream. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yeah, yeah, of course. It's a
And
great one.
it was yeah, it was a scary movie. So I was like maybe 9 years old when she bought me. No, maybe like 9 years old, and I was watching a rated R movie.
Is that the one with
So
the mask, right? The
yeah,
screaming mask? Oh, that's
yeah,
terrifying. That movie is really scary.
and and the story was very good. So I
Mm.
had my toys, my wrestlers, my Power Ranger toys, and I would reenact the movie with my toys. And then I was
Amazing.
like, I'll give each character a different motive on why they killed the other people, or like a different theme, a different ending. And so then I started writing scary stories on my own. And then once I got to like middle school, I started writing even more stories. And then even with my cousins, we would play hide and seek, but I would give them scripts to follow. I'd be like, okay, you're gonna get caught first, and then you're
That's
gonna go after
amazing.
her, and this and that.
So
So
creative. That's so
yeah,
amazing.
and I mean, my cousins, they probably thought it was weird, but they still played with me either way.
Right.
So, and then once I got to high school, after working in the field, that's when my stories started changing.
Mm.
Now they were still horror stories, but they were more about life, like the horrors the immigrants go through,
Mm-hmm.
like in El Campo. Like I would write poems,
Mm.
I would write short stories, the stories that they would tell me. I write them in my journal because I always had a journal every time I would go work because that's how I kept like I always liked writing, whether it was in my journal I would either draw or like I said
Mm.
write poems or
Yeah.
just like or sometimes I'll teach them English. And so it
Amazing.
was pretty fun. So then once I got to high school, I was like, yeah, I really want to make these stories come to life. I want to make them into movies because I never, I barely see stories about immigrants. And most of the time, when I see the topic of immigration on TV or in movies, it's only a small topic. They never go very deep into it, and
Totally.
it
And
doesn't
it's always
sound,
like one kind of immigration, right?
yeah.
When there's so
And
many. Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't sound organic to the point where I'm like, yeah, an immigrant did not write this. It was somebody that doesn't know the world. It's somebody that just sees it from their point of view, but it's not accurate. It's not like you don't
Mm-hmm.
feel it.
Yeah, and it's usually, now that you're saying it, that's so, like, it's so true. Like in the shows that we watch that are very famous or movies, we never see immigrants, right? Like going through visa applications or having DACA, like unless it's very, as you said, specific, and unless they only show like one little side, and it's usually not the main character. So, I think we need a lot of your work and your inspiration and creativity. Seriously. I saw
Yeah.
one of your short films, and I think that's where I got a lot of the things that you're sharing with me. I heard in that film, where you talk about your mom leaving and the impact that had in your life, but also you were carrying your book, right? Like the notebook, and writing things, and how important it's interesting to see how each kind of stage of your life has impacted you to the point to where you're right now, right? Like every part was important.
Yes, and I mean, I make mistakes as well. I'm not perfect. Even though the media, they always label DACA recipients as perfect, we're not because if we were perfect, you know, perfect people don't have the best stories. Like, to be honest, and that's something that I try to do with my stories is to not make the main character perfect because if not, they're not relatable.
Ex-
And then that's what uh, these TV shows
mm,
do when they have a DACA recipient on their shows. They make them too perfect to the point where they're not relatable at all.
Not even to all the
And
DACA recipients, right? Like yourself.
yeah,
Maybe you see it and you're like,
yeah,
I never did that.
yeah, and also like the storyline is just not. It's off. Like it just
Mm,
doesn't. I don't know. Maybe because they're from a different state when they write it. I don't know. But it's just like many of us don't feel the way they
mm,
picture it.
yeah.
And yeah, but my stories are mostly based on the struggle because without struggle, there's no story.
I love that. Oh my goodness. I love that. And I feel like a big part of what you do is to also give immigrants that opportunity to speak up and share their
Yeah.
voices. And I think this is something that we talk about over the phone, because you were telling me like you want to also be able to advocate for other immigrants. Like you still have so much love for those workers that you were part of, right? Like farm workers that maybe don't have enough information about their rights or about the services they can access, and that can be really frustrating, right? Like that, who's helping them, right? So what's something that you would like to see happening, or for immigrants to know, about that, the whole immigrant struggle or immigrant situation, at least right now in the USA?
So something a quote that I always quote, um, a quote that I really love and that I always use whenever I'm deciding to do something is something that Dolores Huerta said, which
Okay.
is you can't help the farm worker unless you become the farm worker. So you can't help somebody unless you enter their world because if not, you just don't understand what they really need.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the passion is. That's where the dedication is. You're going into the world of these people so that you can understand what it is that they need or how you can help them. Because if you're seeing it from a window, if you're seeing them from like far away,
Mm-hmm.
you think you know what they need, but really you don't
You
because you're
don't.
not there with them.
You're seeing just the surface, and I think this is a great opportunity to ask you, what do you think is something that they need? What is something that is lacking and that we don't know?
One of them definitely has to be low wages. For example, like here in New Jersey, our minimum wage is $12. Agriculture minimum wage is only 10.35 or so.
And when you say
So
ours, you mean people with
like for
DACA?
everybody,
For
no,
everybody.
like everybody,
Oh, okay.
yeah, for everybody.
And
The
when you
minimum wage is
compare, okay.
yeah, and it's gonna go up $1 for the next 3 years. But for agriculture workers, it's gonna stay the same. And it's like
That's
these
not
are
fair.
hardworking people. They work hard hours. They barely have rights. To be
And
honest,
they barely have services too. Like, can they take vacation? Can they take sick days?
no. I mean, if they can, they can. They won't get paid or they'll get laid off. Um, you know.
Yeah.
And also, like, especially right now during this pandemic, a lot of them they were still working. They didn't qualify for like the COVID relief fund that they were giving out here in New Jersey.
Yeah.
They didn't qualify for anything. They couldn't even get tested because they just didn't have that resource or they didn't have health insurance.
Well, you didn't have
And
the time to go to, right? Like, 'cause it's very
yeah,
easy to tell your boss, oh, I'm gonna go get tested. And you know that that hour that you're going, you're still getting paid. But in jobs like
yeah,
those, you know, you leave and you're
and
gone.
like there's a good amount of organizations that they do their best, but there's just so many campos that
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's just sad because the people that run the state or my state, yeah, they say yeah, farm workers are essential, and they come up with these executive orders or like these bills, but that's just them like talking about it. They don't go themselves to these fields and
Yeah.
watch for them with their own eyes what like these workers need. They just say it.
Yeah, and they
But it's
say it
like,
to so people hear that and they say, wow, they're taking care of them. And
yeah,
they're just saying it to be political, you know, correct,
yeah,
not
yeah,
because they really care. When these people are literally bringing food to our table, like, seriously, they should be the
and
ones receiving the most amount of services.
yeah, and then they're risking their life. There were many deaths
Hmm.
here in New Jersey of farm workers. Like I know there was a family that they all got COVID, and one of the husbands died. He passed away. So the owner of the house, uh, he's the farmer. So he was the owner of the house where they were living at. So he told them that since the husband died and the husband was his farm worker, he's not here no more. So the family needs to leave.
The
And
country.
he no, not the
Mm,
country, but
the,
like the house.
I see.
And they didn't give them like a few days. They told them you have to leave because the husband's not here, not working with me
Wow.
any longer. So
No empathy. Wow, that's so hard. And it sounds like you're still in contact with a lot of them, right? Like, even though you said you started working at the greenhouse, which I wanted to ask you, what's the kind of work that you're doing right now there?
at the greenhouse, I'm a grower, so I just like water the plants or like put chemicals,
Yeah.
um, sometimes pesticides, and we get very well paid. It's like one of the few agricultural jobs that gets paid very well. So a lot of these workers at my job, they live really good lives.
That's great.
And I remember there was this one company from LA. I think it's called Morcajito de Miguero. I don't know if you heard of them.
No, I haven't.
No, well, they're pretty well known, and I think they're from LA. I don't know,
Okay.
but they offered me $100 gift cards to give to farm workers. So
Amazing.
they told me that if I can like pass them out on my job, and I told my coworkers, but they were like, we don't need money. Like, give that to people that really need it because we're still working, we're still making good hours, making good money. So give them to people that really need them.
That's amazing. That's so beautiful that
Yeah.
they weren't like, oh, yeah, thank you, but actually thinking about others. And
I
if
mean, there are people in there
I
that
know.
they're very stingy and
Hmm.
they're like my enemies supposedly, but I don't pay attention to them. I pay more attention to the people that are positive and that they've been supporting me through all these whole years.
And that are receiving that support, because that's what matters at the
Yeah,
end. Yeah.
yeah.
And Edgar, I do have other two questions. How do you think undocumented immigrants can share their voices? What are some ways that you have found, like ways for you to speak up, like using this space, for example? What would you tell other undocumented immigrants that are listening as how can they share their voices and yeah, speak up?
So one thing that I realized over the past few months
Mm-hmm.
that I've gotten to meet like more people throughout the nation is that it only takes one story for other people to like feel motivated to share theirs. because I know when I went viral a year ago with my story,
Mhm.
I had a lot of DMs of people from my own community reaching out to me, telling me, hey, like I really like that you're telling your story. Like it gives me motivation to tell mine because like I've been here for this amount of years and I've just never told people that I'm undocumented. I didn't even know these people were undocumented, and I grew up with a lot of these people. So
Yeah.
hearing it from hearing it from my community, it's just nice. And but then I also have DMs from like people from other states who are also telling me the same thing. So I'm like, if I can motivate people that follow me, I can only imagine when I make my first movie where people from the whole world can see it.
I'll be watching that movie and cheering you up because that's
But
so amazing.
and it's also like you taking the time to ask these people questions. Like the one thing that I've always done ever since I started working with immigrants is that I always ask like, how long have you been here, or like, how was your journey? Because I always like I like to talk a lot
Hmm.
sometimes, especially with older people. And sometimes I don't know it's my friends because whenever I go to my friend's house, I talk to the parents. Like I leave my friends and I go talk to the parents, and we talk like,
Right.
and like I become more friends with the parents because we just have different conversations. Because I just like learning and I like listening, and that's what I would do with the other workers. I would just ask them, like,
Mm.
where are they from? Like, how was their journey coming here? Like, do they have kids here? Do they have papers or are they here undocumented? And once you like get their confidence, they start telling you the story, and then sometimes a little piece of what they say motivates me into like like changing the way I am. Or
Mm.
it's just sometimes it's just a little piece of advice that just changes like your point of view and other things.
It gives you perspective too, right? Of your
Yeah,
own life, where you're at, being grateful for things you have that you never maybe even see as possible, right? We take so many things for granted, but when you're listening to real stories, you're like, wow, that's amazing. Um, where so if people want to watch what you have done, for example, you mentioned when you went viral, with what was that short film, or where can people find the work that
oh,
you do?
so I went viral by accident because
How is that?
I was I was I was supposed to graduate last spring.
Okay.
Like I was like the last spring was my senior year at the university where I was at, and I had everything planned. Like my mom was supposed to come back by then because that's when she made her 10 years, so she can come back legally with like a visitor's visa.
Hmm.
So we had everything planned, but then COVID happened, and so everything got canceled. Even my internship got canceled, and so then they were offering this prize at my school. Whoever made the best graduation video at home. So my boss, I told my boss that I want to do it because they're giving $100 to Target. You know, it doesn't sound bad. You
That's
know, $100
amazing.
is
Yeah.
$100. And so I was like, but I don't know what to do because I'm like, I try to be very creative with the stuff that I do. That I don't know what to do with this one. So he was like, well, when is your graduation or when is the ceremony? And I was like, the virtual ceremony is on Saturday, so I'm gonna be here. So I think I'm just gonna sit down and like watch it during break or something.
Yeah.
So he was like, well, why don't you bring your cap and gown on Saturday and just tell the ladies to just clap for you and you can walk down the aisle. But he was saying it as a joke. And then I sat down and I thought about it and I was like, that sounds like a good idea. It actually sounds a very creative video. So I did that. And I told my coworkers, I'm like, I want to do this, I want to do that. So can you guys help me? And so they were like, they didn't really understand what I was talking about. And I was like, I have to make a video and I have to upload it on TikTok. I didn't even know what TikTok was back then. So yeah,
Amazing.
so then my coworkers were like, yeah, just tell us what to do and we'll do it. So I gave them my vision. I got one of my guys to have my iPhone recording, and I'm like, you're gonna hold the camera like this, and you're gonna walk backwards as I'm walking forward. And he was like,
A
okay,
whole
I don't know what
director. I
what.
love it. Yeah.
And then I was telling one of the ladies, I was like, I really need to use your ladies for this video. And she was like, yeah. She was like, we're all leaving at 3, so once we're done, we'll tell you. So yeah, so they were done, and then they came, and then she was like, hey, I have a few guys that are leaving. Do you want me to tell them? And I'm like, no, we're fine. And she was like, no, I'm gonna go tell them. So she made the guys come back, and and the guys, they speak Zapoteco.
Okay.
So they speak a dialect. So the lady was translating everything that I was saying to them. So she kind of didn't give them the option. She was like, yeah, you guys, we need to do this. So she was lining everybody up, keeping them like distant from each other. And she basically gave me the cue, like, okay, we're ready. So then we started filming. Everybody was clapping. They don't know what the video was even about. They were just following directions. And then it was fun. Like they had a good time.
I
And
need
then
to watch the video.
and then once they saw the video, they were like, "Wow, you like that's how it looks." And I was like, "Yeah." They were like, "Yeah," because we were confused. Like you were recording here, then there, then over there, and then I was like, "Yeah, that's the whole point. There's different angles."
And
They
you
were
did
like,
it all with
"Oh,
your
okay."
phone, right?
Yeah. So
Where can
then
we find this video? No, tell us more, and then I can ask you.
so then I uploaded the video on TikTok and on Instagram and on Facebook. And on Facebook, I was getting the support of a lot of my community members. Instagram, I was getting like 90 likes or so. And then on TikTok, I had my notifications off. And every time I kept checking, like I didn't have any views, any likes. So I was like, I don't know if my school is gonna watch it, if they're gonna get to it, because I don't have any views. And then I woke up that night, like around 2 in the morning, and it was blowing up on TikTok. Like I was getting so many likes and so many comments, and I was like, wow.
Oh my
And
goodness.
then, but where it really went viral was on Instagram because a lot of big pages with big platforms like Me Too, Brown Issues, the Latinx Therapy,
Uh-huh.
Daughter of an Immigrant, they started reposting it. So that's when I started getting more followers and more likes and more DMs, and I got to know like a lot of really big people, and that's where my life kind of drifted. I was even in an episode of Good Morning America. I was
Wow.
in Entertainment Tonight. They made an article about me. So yeah, it kind of it opened many doors for me. Even though there were some people that promised me jobs and opportunities, they only did it because I was trending for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But once something else came, they forgot all about me, and they canceled a lot of our projects.
Oh,
But I mean, it's better.
but you did it. And how amazing that you said that it happened kind of like an accident, right? Like you were maybe
Yeah,
trying, but was your
yeah,
school able to watch it? Because they were kind of like, did they give you the gift card?
yeah, yeah. I won. I won first place.
Yay.
Yeah,
Wow, how amazing. What a story. And you know what, that to me that kind of speaks to the fact that it went viral, like the fact that you were able to connect with so many, that you received messages, DMs, people with big accounts that you said reposted that, because it's a story that needs to be heard, because there's people that are going
yeah,
through the same and they're maybe not acknowledging, as you were saying, how others see you. How is
yeah,
that such a big deal, and how much it means to graduate, and to share that experience. So I mean, I think that that just tells us how much need there is to connection and to sharing stories about immigration, about being part of the Latinx community, about being undocumented.
yeah. It's this experience made me even more vocal. It made me want to share more.
And you're inspiring me and us that are listening or that will listen. I always talk like people are already listening. You're inspiring us to speak up and share stories, because there's so many times, and this is something I have discovered with the podcast, where I thought, my journey is not as interesting or my story is just another one. But when you start talking about it, people are like, wait, did that happen to you? Not because it's a big deal, but because you're like, that's happening to me too. And that's how you can
Yeah, and
connect. It's like nobody's ever talking about it. So we're all thinking it's something weird, and I mean, look at it. It's amazing.
And also, like, you'd be surprised something you have the answer to somebody else who's searching for it, and then they might have an answer to something you're searching for.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the beauty of sharing, your own story.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I hope more people that, can listen, can also feel inspired to share their stories, if it's not in a big platform, at least to their family members, to their friends. Tell them the struggles that, have been defining them, and they will be inspired. And they will find inspiration in that too.
And also, like, it has to do with mental health. It helps your mental health a lot because most of the time you don't want to speak about your struggles because you sound like you're complaining, or you sound like, or you might think you're complaining, and you don't want other people to be like, oh, he's always complaining, or or he's always whining. But sometimes you just have to let it out.
Exactly. Yeah, we all need that space. We all need that space to complain, if that's how we want to call it, because we need that too. And there's people that want to listen to you and that want to be there for you. So Edgar, where can we find your work? I know you're on YouTube, but tell us, where can we connect with you, people that are listening want to connect or want to watch your films? Because I saw one, but you were telling me that there's another one that we can watch.
So I just wrapped up a short film. It was like a really big project. Um, it's not available yet
Okay.
because I'm in the process of film festivals, and like one of the biggest rules is that we're not allowed to share it on YouTube yet.
Right.
But I'm gonna start sharing more of my work on this new Instagram page that I just created, or that I just launched, like other people say.
Yeah.
It's called Voices of the Soil.
Voices. Like, okay.
Yeah, Voices of the Soil, or in Spanish, Las Voces del Silencio.
Okay.
And it's a platform that I've always wanted to do ever since I started my journey in college, to showcase like my artwork, like any like drawing or design that I do, or any like video that I make, or any like PSA, short film, just anything in general that I want to share, and also to showcase other people of color who will also have a similar um, like type of style, or they also want to share their work. I want to give that platform to all of us. And I just started it maybe 3 weeks ago. I haven't been as active, but I just updated. I upgraded camera, so now I have a better camera. I have a better equipment. I have a team of other people that I want to be part of this. So yeah, I'm gonna be more consistent with this stuff. And the reason why I'm not sharing it on my social media is because I want to avoid my face, and I want to showcase the work instead. I want to showcase the work instead because I feel like if I show my face so much, they're gonna be like, oh, he's just doing it for like he's just doing it for him. But no, I'd rather have this platform for like everybody.
I see. And that's beautiful. And you also have I mean, if people do want to check out what you're doing, they can find you in that one.
Or in my regular one.
That one too, which is Edgar Aquino, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. In YouTube, you're also you have a short film. Is that correct? The DACA short film.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one about my life, which it also went viral on literally on the first day I uploaded it. But I took it off. I put it private because I got scared, because I'm like, wow, people they're gonna know that I'm undocumented, and and then that's when Trump became president. So I was very scared.
There's a lot of fear. Yeah. How do you feel now about your status? Do you feel more safe, more comfortable now that things are looking a little different in the country?
Yeah, I have a little bit more hope than I did a few months ago. Not because of the president that we had, but just because of how my community feels. Like, they feel safer. So if they feel safe, then I feel less worried. Because anything can happen to me either way. I already have my career, so it doesn't matter what part of the world I'm in. But I just rather have my community safe because they're literally the ones that build me. So If they're good, then I'm good.
That's so beautiful. That's amazing. You're seriously an inspiration, and I admire the work that you have done and your story and the courage to share it with us here.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Edgar. I'm glad that you were here at Modern Immigrant. Thank you.